Well, hello everyone. We're going to discuss a few questions I got on Power Rangers Redux. So the first question here is, what were your initial thoughts on going back over those old tracks and recutting them? I have been asked for 15 years if I would recreate versions that didn't have the dialogue over them. Now, when I did the original versions, we were doing them all to a couple of 2-inch tape machines, and those tracks, I think, were lost when Disney took over the whole franchise. I heard that they found them since, but I'm not sure. So I avoided it for years and years and years. Luckily, I had finished a show with Cedric the Entertainer called The Soul Man, and it looked like I was going to have a break of about a month. And something came up online. I don't remember what it was, but I kind of considered it an omen and thought, I should take some time and recut this stuff. So I did a test first doing the theme to even see if I could still sing in those ranges, because I hadn't really sung regularly in that voice for 20 years. And after I was happy with that, then I think I announced it at Morphicon that I was working on this. So it was a lot of fun going back over those tracks. Next question. Have you had to take any special steps on recutting those tracks? Yes. What I would do is I took the originals and popped them into Pro Tools. That's the software I use. And I'd go through and come up with the tempo map. Now, in some of the originals, I fluctuated the tempos up and down. And so on those songs, it took quite a bit of time to figure out exactly where everything hit, because there's a reason those tempos were perfect way back when. There was no reason to really mess them up, except I believe on I Will Win, I may have slowed that down a beat or two a minute, just a bit, just to give it a little bit more of a groove. That was probably the hardest part, and trying to decipher every single harmony from the original. Since I didn't have the track split out, I would just have to go over it again and again and again and kind of chart out what those notes were. Most of them actually were easy to figure out, but there were some that really took a lot of effort. Next question, was I pleased with the final results? Yes. Actually, I was surprised. When I got the mastered tracks back, I popped them in my iPod and was at the gym and almost felt disconnected from it, which, let me explain that. Usually when you finish a project and you've listened to each song 500, 600 times while you're creating it and developing the parts and then mixing it, you can't get away from it. You're too close. And I felt that way right up to the end. I'd listen through and go and hear every single part individually in my head and remember playing every part or singing it. But when it came back from mastering, it sounded a little different to me. I loved it. He did a great job. And I almost felt like I was listening to a new album that I'd done either a long time ago or that I hadn't done myself. So I was really pleased with that result. Was there a lot of nostalgia going through my mind at that time? Yeah, when I was recutting the tracks, there'd be times I'd be closing my eyes and singing parts, and I almost pictured myself back in that Saban studio back in the 90s cutting these things. Because I had the same feeling in my throat, and as I've said before, in order to tighten up my chords, I'll gargle with a Diet Pepsi, ice cold. It kind of tightens them up so I can get a higher range when I needed it. So yeah, I definitely had some flashbacks there. Did I discover that I had any more favorites recreating these newer tracks? Yeah, actually, I love them all, and there were some of them that I don't think I've listened to since I cut them, because I always like to, finish it and move forward. I originally didn't want to recut I Will Win, but after I finished it, I was really, really happy with how it turned out, and it's one of my they're all my favorites now. I like them. Next question. So on establishing the demos of the tracks you recreated, how come the timing of the tracks were reduced on some of them? This is because I changed a few parts rewrote some of the solo sections. There were some things I didn't like on the original production, so that immediately was going to change the timing one way or another. It's really that simple. Next question, were there any challenges on recutting these tracks? Yes, the hardest thing was to figure out what to do with the lead guitar lines, because I didn't want to ape what was there originally. I love what was there originally, but I didn't want to just recreate every single note, since the vocals were going to be almost an exact duplicate of what I did originally. So the hardest part was figuring out exactly what should be done. I found a great guitar player. He did a great job. And I would piece together different parts of his performances until I got exactly what I thought worked perfectly. That was the only real challenge. Next question, did you contact Saban about recutting the tracks? No, I didn't do this. They own the rights, but once any song has been released commercially, any song in the world, anybody else can recut that song, called a cover. So it's very, very easy to do. I've done it many times. My wife and I with Fisher have done it. We've done cover albums or cover songs. All you have to do is get yourself a mechanical license, which is available from several agencies and several sites online. So that's easy. Next question, do you think the album will be a big success? You know, I never try and predict that stuff because I'm generally wrong. So, you know, I hope it does incredibly well. I would love that. I may have a little fantasy that it explodes and becomes a huge thing online. I'd love that, but realistically, we'll just have to wait and see. Were there any tracks you wanted to do but couldn't? I think I started working on Go Fly Win, but found out that it had never been released, so that killed that one right away. Next question. Do you think that some of the tracks turned out better than the original recordings? In my opinion, they're all better than the originals, because the originals were banged out so quickly, and although I'd already been mixing stuff for about 5-6 years, the amount of gear I had back then was so minimal compared to what I have today, and I didn't have as much experience, so I think things sound much better now. Next question. Are there any more plans for more recuts of PR music? And there's a list of songs here. Again, unless it's been released on a CD, I can't do it. Perhaps if this thing really exploded, the current CD, then I could contact Saban and see if we could work something out, but I don't see any more stuff coming right now. So there is a possibility that there'll be a second album, but kind of unlikely at this point. All right, so the next question is to tell you where you can purchase the album. Right now, it's up at bandcamp.com, bandcamp.com. Today is Tuesday, October 23rd, 2012. The tracks have been sent off to the distributor for iTunes and all the other digital outlets online, but that generally takes anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks to get into their system. So hopefully by end of the first week in November, it'll be at iTunes and all the other digital outlets. Thank you very much for asking these questions. Hope you guys are all doing great. This is Ron Wasserman. Bye.